Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March the 28th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday to ya. Longtime listeners probably noticed this is getting posted a little bit earlier than usual. I decided to take another me day in March. I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get our laundry in. I had like a pretty much a kind of a busier day ahead of me, so I was like, let's just go ahead and nix work. How about that? Just kind of make everything kind of flow together the way I wanted. So, that was nice that I was able to get today off. I will say though, I started off with laundry and I kind of found a way to, mess it up a little bit. I, was going in, as usual. It was rainy. Not that that really matters, but, just trying to get my laundry in, then get back in the car and just kind of hang out, whatever. And I get all my laundry packed in and I get my laundry detergent out, but I didn't put it in and I just left it out there. And then I come back in and I'm like, oh no, I forgot to put in my laundry detergent. So I was really worried about the clothes. Luckily, they just got wet washed and that was about it. Was able to dry them. Everything was fine. I think only one white shirt didn't really get cleaned. So I was like, okay, that's not the worst L of my life. And who knows, maybe that shirt would have still just been dirty. I hate white shirts. But anyway, overall, laundry was fine. Lesson learned. You goof up sometimes. I'm only human. But after that, we went to the gym. Gym went well. It was a solid session. And now we're home. I also picked up a new Monster flavor, at least new to me. Or not Monster, Nas flavor. It was called Sonic Sour. Pretty much tasted like one of those lemonade Sour Patch Kids. So I was down for that. It tasted pretty good. So yeah, that's been my day. It's been solid. It's been good. But let's go ahead and do our startup and get into some news. All right. From USA Today. Earthquake rocks Myanmar and Thailand, killing over 150 people. A powerful earthquake struck Southeast Asia on Friday, killing over 140 people in Myanmar and injuring hundreds as authorities in Thailand searched for dozens of people trapped under the rubble of a collapsed skyscraper in Bangkok. The 7.7 magnitude earthquake centered in Myanmar struck around lunchtime and was followed by several tremors, including a 6.4 magnitude aftershock. At least 144 people in Myanmar have been killed and 732 injured, the head of the country's military-run government said, warning those figures are expected to rise. Much of the destruction occurred in Mandalay, the war-torn country's second-largest city. Excuse me. In Bangkok, hundreds of miles from the epicenter, rescue teams searched through the rubble of collapsed high-rise building where at least 110 people were trapped. Bangkok's Deputy Governor Tavita Kemavaj, told Reuters at least 8 people were killed in the collapse and a ninth person died in another location in the city. Now, I imagine these numbers are slated to go up. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be more damage as well as the damage that's also listed in the rest of this article. I know that when we often, we got to mention that with these earthquakes, there, is a slew of aftershocks for days, for days and days. And, that only means that, the numbers are going to go up. There's going to be more devastation, more damage. So, I'll try to, keep, everybody posted, my dear listeners posted, if there are any more major developments. But I know just coming out of Myanmar, this is a problem on a problem. You already have a civil war going on, between the military junta and also, the, pro-democracy, what's the word I'm looking for? Fighters. I really feel like that's the best word I can come up with at the moment. But, that's still been going on. There has been, no aid getting in because of the military. So now they're finally saying, hey, this is so bad that we need help. We need assistance for, whoever can provide it. It's also worth noting, too, that Donald Trump has said, hey, we are going to provide aid and help. So, that's good. It's just, crazy because, he cut things like USAID. So, it's kind of like, okay, I guess we're still going to do the thing that we do as a nation, but, just not as well, I guess, whatever. So, yeah, I wanted to start with this story, but let's move on to, I guess, actually, the Trump version in a way, from The Hill. White House withdrawing Stefanik nomination to serve as U.S. ambassador to UN. Now, to me, I only see this as good news. I am not a Stefanik fan. If you have listened to previous episodes where I've talked about her, she made a big stink recently over the campus shit. Was it last year? Whatever, at Columbia. She was really just trying to get points, and that's what she's really been doing this whole time. She's made a shift from being a moderate Republican to just more or less being an all-out MAGA politician, and I mean, it got her so close to a prime position that she could really sink her teeth in that she really wanted, but we'll get into why she's not getting it. The White House has informed the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that it is withdrawing Representative Elise Stefanik, Republican from New York, Elise Stefanik's nomination to serve as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, reflecting how critical her vote is in the House to passing, President Trump's agenda. Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chair James E. Risch, Republican from Idaho, received notice from the White House on Thursday afternoon that it was pulling Stefanik's nomination, confirming a rumor that circulated earlier in the day in the media. Now, he kind of said, okay, I got the call, and then he just kind of got out of there. He really hasn't had a chance to react. But the decision marks a remarkable blow to the Congresswoman who turned from being a Trump skeptic to one of his strongest and loudest supporters, and who gave up a number 4 leadership spot in the House GOP after Trump nominated her to the UN post. So it's really a weird position for her, as the House is in a really tenuous position. I think that they kind of got a little over their skis. Trump had posted a few people from, I believe, the House and maybe the Senate. I can't remember them all, but essentially for either cabinet, job positions. And they kind of thought everything was going to be fine and just work quick as you like, nice as you like. But the numbers are very tight. We've already talked about, Republicans coming to loggerheads over, some Trump bills, and they weren't sure how they were going to get the numbers. And, they're able to barely get the shit off the ground. So essentially they're like, ooh, maybe we do need Stefanik actually in the House, because if we leave things to chance, maybe Hochul drags the whole process in New York. Maybe there's a chance, even though she did win by, I think, like 24 points, whatever. I don't know how high that is, how big of a margin. But essentially they're like, it could get contested. She could lose. That can make things even worse for us if then we lost the seat to a Democrat in that regard. But really, they just don't have the time to really wait for any kind of, confirmation of a new Republican to come back into the seat. So they kind of need the numbers right here, right now, to kind of shove through all this bullshit that Trump wants to get done, his grand agenda. So, I guess the ambition for her is still keeping her at the House, which I'm sure she'll be able to swallow and get over. But the problem is she did some leveling up to get leadership positions, and now she doesn't have them. Like, she's able to get back in and be fine, but there's, a potential, problem in terms of, well, you're not going to have your number 4 spot. But I guess there's a chance that, Mike Johnson, who is, House Speaker, can give up his number 10 spot. I don't really know how it'll go. Trump has said, hey, she should be getting her leadership title back. I don't know how that goes because it's already been filled by somebody else. So it's definitely an awkward situation for everyone involved. And there's also some stipulation that maybe like, oh, she was just a bad pick. That's why they were slow walking her. And maybe so. I mean, I personally don't like her. I didn't like Gates. I didn't like Gabbard. I didn't like Hegseth. And look, only Gates is out of those people I mentioned were people who got axed. There's another guy too that I didn't cover as well. I think he was supposed to be someone who was like kind of like RFK Jr.-esque and maybe even working in like a similar field for health medicine or something to that effect. I can't remember. But he got canned because no one really liked his vibe either. So, I mean, I guess there was like been 3 casualties here. But, I mean, we'll see where Stefanik lands. But anyway, boo this lady. I'm not a fan. Tomato, tomato, tomato. And it's nice kind of seeing her, take a little bit of a fall back to the house. And we'll see how that goes from there. But anyway, I just wanted to riff about that. We can just move on. Details, schmeetails. That's what I say. Anyway, our next story comes from The Guardian. Andrew Tate and brother Tristan return to Romania for court appearance. The self-styled misogynist influencer Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have returned to Romania, where they remain under investigation, with Andrew telling reporters that they had returned because innocent men don't run from anything. The dual U.S. and British citizens were arrested in Romania in late 2022 amid accusations of misleading women and transporting them to Romania, where they were later sexually exploited and subjected to physical violence. Andrew Tate is also accused of rape. The brothers have denied all wrongdoing. Shortly after arriving in Bucharest early on Saturday, the pair spoke to reporters outside their residence. "We're here to clear our names and exonerate ourselves," said Andrew Tate. I guess this also infers, too, that because they want to clear their name and they're innocent men, blah, 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 that they are not just going to come back to deal with the remaining case, that they are also going to be going to the UK when that time comes. So to me, this is at least a silver lining in this whole process. I know when I covered them last, they had come back to Florida. So I wasn't sure if they were just going to, hide out in the bosom of America and they were just going to get away with this shit clean, easy. But at least they're they're going along with the process, right? I mean, so hey, maybe justice can fully be realized in this situation. We shall see. That was really the main reason why I wanted to cover this. I really don't feel like this is actually like big time news or whatever, because they've had the travel ban lifted, yada. They've been in motion. To me, it was just relevant that they were coming to the U.S. because maybe that signaled they were going to just try to stay in the U.S. and not deal with anything, because they had the dual citizenship or whatever. But it looks like with them going back to Romania to, I think they just said that they had to sign some paperwork or whatever. It shows that they are at least, going to continue along with the process. So we'll see how things go from here, whatever. But let's go ahead and move along to it's our last story. We're just kind of tumbling along on this Friday. Let me see if it loads up. But while it loads up, let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll close this thing out. All right. Our last story comes from Reuters. CK Hutchison will not sign deal to sell strategic Panama ports next week, sources say. Ooh. Oh, boy. Hong Kong's CK Hutchison will not sign a deal next week to sell its 2 port operations near the Panama Canal to a BlackRock-led group. 2 people with direct knowledge of the matter said, amid growing pressure from Beijing. China's market regulator said it will carry out an antitrust review on the Panama port deal in accordance with the law to protect fair competition and safeguard public interests, its official WeChat account showed late on Friday. The telecoms to retail conglomerate owned by tycoon Li Kai-shing, which I believe is in the thumbnail, that guy, with the big ball. He's got an interesting head. I like his skull. You know what? People think that I'm anti-bald. I'm not. I am a bald ally. If you are bald or you're balding, I stand with you in solidarity. Hell, I cut my hair at least once a month to stand with you firmly. I can just, my hairline's just doing pretty good, knock on wood, because maybe it comes from me too. And you know what? I will still keep being bald. So amen to that. Pro bald. Just wanted to say that. I wanted to keep that going. But yeah, he's in the thumbnail, I think. But they agreed to sell most of the global $22.8 billion port business. Jeez, that's a lot for some ports. I don't know. To me, that's a lot of money, right? Like, multiple billions like that? Goddamn. Anyway, including assets it holds along the strategically important Panama Canal to a group led by BlackRock. Now, I was really kind of like primed to cover the story that I saw last night or, yesterday afternoon. I'm annoyed because I feel like Telegraph, where I initially saw this from, was probably a better article, but they paywalled me. And, hey, you gotta get your bag. I get it, whatever. But really what drew me to the story was I remember when I either covered this, directly or kind of indirectly, I was like, damn, they kind of just rolled over. You know what I mean? Like, they said, okay, we don't really want the smoke anymore. We'll make a deal with you. Now, essentially, they're saying, hey, here, we're still down to make this deal. We just got to work through the details, the logistics, yada, yada, yada. But it seems like they're kind of almost moving now to a slow walking pace. And that's come because of the fact that Beijing, people are talking about this in a very, negative way. They're saying, hey, like, they should, CK Hutchison should not make this deal. This is bad. This is bad for us. It makes us look bad. You know what I mean? Which I'm like, yeah, no, I agree. And these are billionaires. Like, at the end of the day, I always kind of, you can say what you want, how you feel about China, if you're a China hawk or dove, whatever the fuck. I like how they approach the conversation of billionaires. Even though that they might talk tough and things like that, they are trying to apply pressure to these people to make sure that they cooperate and, are actually, giving back some, supporting. You do know that there's a symbiosis in so many times, in so many ways, where it's like they are still, because this is a capitalist, system all around them, it flows in there, it's a hybridization of a thing, that inevitably they're going to get some leeway, they're going to get some sway. But then naturally there is this blowback where it's like, hey, you don't have this guy in the White House being like, yippee, throw up the axe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they feel the pressure too. And they have to kind of respond in kind and say, yeah, okay, well, maybe we'll try to do our best to make this right. Let me go ahead and read a little bit more. The person added, the development does not mean that the deal has been called off, and April 2nd is not a hard deadline. The second source, who also declined to be identified for similar reason, said talks are still very much underway. So I really want to underline that I don't think that this deal is kaput. It just kind of goes to show that it's like either, through media or, whatever, it seems like the message is being conveyed, hey, CK Hutchison, y'all kind of fucking up with this deal, like, make this right, or at least make this some way salvageable, right? I don't know. But it was a nice little interesting update out of the Panama Canal, at least. So I was happy to kind of close out the story with that in my own way. Anyway, that'll be it for today. That's going to be the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, become a newsie today. The roll call, it's coming soon, next week. Hop on there if you'd like. You get a shout out, plug a name, plug a project, whatever, if you like. Let's see. Freeways hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. And then subscribe to the YouTube. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Any of the platforms you like to listen to. Just keep up with the episodes. It's nice for the algorithm. Hit the like button. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. And thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.